Madam Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Members, ladies and gentlemen, I rise before this August House to make a parliamentary statement about the increase in the national minimum wage. Madam Speaker, the Constitution guarantees every Fijian the right to economic participation, a just minimum wage, social security, fair employment practices which include humane treatment in the workplace and proper working conditions. These are basic fundamental rights which this Bainimarama-led government is fully committed in upholding for all workers throughout Fiji, especially for the lowly paid workers and often marginalized sector of our workforce, whilst at the same time ensuring that businesses continue to succeed and the national economy grows. Madam Speaker, to ensure that all workers enjoy the right to a just minimum wage as required under Section 33 of the Constitution, the Ministry conducted a very comprehensive national survey in 2013 under the expert guidance of Dr. Mahendra Reddy, now the Honourable Minister for Education. And after thoroughly analysing the results, a national minimum wage of $2.32 per hour was recommended, an increase of about 60% of the minimum wage, which was consistent with international best practices. This proposed rate was then presented to all stakeholders in a nationwide consultation process to gauge its viability. The outcome of the national negotiations confirmed that the small micro enterprises were not in a position to honour and afford the increase. Consequently, after further consultations, it was agreed to raise the national minimum wage to about $2 per hour, and that the next increase will be pegged at about $2.32. Madam Speaker, these proposals were supported and endorsed by most stakeholders, and Cabinet, in its decision number 27 of the 29th of January last year, approved Fiji's first national minimum wage threshold at $2 per hour. The payment of this national minimum wage was made effective from the 1st of March of last year by virtue of the Employment Regulations, National Minimum Wage Regulations 2014, which was gazetted under Legal Notice number 11 of the 28th of February 2014. Madam Speaker, by enacting these employment regulations of 2014, the Bainimarama-led government had for the first time in Fiji's history benchmarked a minimum wage threshold and at the same time taken a major and significant step towards attaining a national goal of reducing poverty to a negligible level in 2015-2016. Further to this, Madam Speaker, it conducted a nationwide household income and expenditure survey which revealed that the poverty level in Fiji had fallen from 35% in 2002 to 31% in 2008. Since then, the government had continued to adopt initiatives and poverty alleviation strategies to further reduce the poverty level amongst the remaining 31% within society. Madam Speaker, with the introduction of the national minimum wage of $2 per hour on the 1st of March last year, the Bainimarama government had made the first genuine effort by any government to raise the standard of living about 100,000 workers and their families nationwide. Most of these workers were being paid an average of about $50 to $60 per week prior to the implementation of the first national minimum wage regulation of last year. Madam Speaker, following the enactment of the National Minimum Wage 2014 regulations, the average weekly take-home pay of these workers increased to about $90 to $96, an increase of approximately 63 to 74%. Madam Speaker, for the past 5 years, the Fijian national economy was maintained at a commendable and stable annual growth rate of about 3.2%, with the growth rate for 2013 revised up to 4.6%, and we've just been told yesterday by the Honourable Minister for Finance, for last year it was revised from 3.8 to about 4.2%. With this sustained and stable economic annual growth rate, it is considered only fair and prudent that all Fijians enjoy and are rewarded fairly for their hard work, particularly our lowly paid workers. In this regard, Madam Speaker, it is my pleasant duty to inform this august House that in keeping with its promise that was contained in the Fiji First Manifesto, the Honourable Prime Minister and Cabinet has approved the second proposal to increase the national minimum wage from $2 to $2.32, effective from the 1st of July of this year. These two national minimum wage settings were adopted using properly benchmarked international standards and practices. Madam Speaker, Government's key objective of imposing a national minimum wage policy is to protect and assist the most vulnerable within Fiji's workforce, most of whom are non-union members and do not have bargaining powers to ensure that their interests are protected, but more importantly, they are fairly remunerated for their hard work. Madam Speaker, increasing the national minimum wage from $2 to $2.32 per hour with about 45 to 40-hour week would result in a corresponding increase in the take-home pay for these 100,000 workers whose average pay of $90 to $96 range to $104 and $111 per week. This significant increase in pay for our workers represents a major positive step in government's overall efforts in alleviating poverty and improving social justice at the provision of free tuition, free textbooks, free bus fares, increased pensions, and other social benefit payments. Madam Speaker, the implementation of the national minimum wage policy is testimony to the Bainimarama government's commitment to according social justice and improving the lot of the lowly paid members of our workforce, who comprise a very significant section of our labor force. These are the workers who had, unfortunately, for too long, fallen victims of the vagaries of the market, but more importantly, to a lack of genuine concern and political will on the part of past administrations. Madam Speaker, the Bainimarama government is fully committed to doing what is right for these workers and helping all Fijians in order that they continue to reap the fruits of their labor and enjoy a life, a fair and just life in our society. Madam Speaker, government has promised, and as always, it will deliver. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, members of the House.
Excuse me, Honourable Minister. Where is that music coming from? Thank you. I will now invite the Leader of Opposition or representative to respond to the statement.
Madam Speaker, I rise to respond to the speech just currently being delivered by the Minister of Employment, Productivity and Industrial Relations. Based on what she just said, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the government for all the initiatives that they've made in order to improve the employment situation in Fiji. We do understand that they've got some few areas on which to tackle in order to improve the employment situation. One that they've discussed yesterday, which was seasonal workers, and the other one is the volunteer scheme, and now it's the minimum wage rate. I think for the first two that I've mentioned, it's already been taken place. It's already in place right now. For the volunteer scheme, we do witness that a number of our retired teachers have been sent to Nauru and the Marshall Islands to help those people, whereby creating again employment for our country, as well as the seasonal workers. It has been opened up recently, whereby we are looking forward to the 30 team that is going to New Zealand very shortly. On those two, we just request if they can look for some more avenue on the two schemes, if more people can be engaged in those areas. We understand that for the seasonal workers, New Zealand has come forward to absorb us on that area, and we do look forward that Australia will come up with open-handed to also take a good portion of our workers in relation to that area. As we recall, in the last year's sitting, on the $2 minimum wage rate, we were advised that about 30,000 of our people were still unemployed. Out of that, 12,000 of that was graduates. And we hope that with the increase that has been approved last week from $2 to $2.32, which is equivalent to a 16% increase, they are hoping to increase the workforce. As I remember correctly, they were targeting around 100,000 this year. Maybe, as we can see, and what has happened so far, maybe the figure that is maybe too much at this point in time. But if we at least can achieve 50% or 25% of that figure, or to just absorb the 30,000 that was unemployed last year, that will be an achievement itself. Just on the new increase, Madam Speaker, as we already heard that the net take-home pay will be around $96 for each family. And if we were, the VAT component was reduced from 15 to 10%, maybe they can they'll enjoy that, slightly enjoy the increase, because the 15% VAT, that this portion of the population will also be part and parcel of paying in meeting the cost of daily living out of the 16% increase. They will be just left with a net 1% net profit, which boils down to not really very much in monetary terms. And I hope that the government will look into that. And we do thank them. At least they've started somewhere, and we look forward to at least absorb the 30,000 that was not employed last year, rather than the 100,000 that they were targeting this year. Thank you very much.
Honourable Member, thank you very much for your response, and I will now give the floor to the representative from the National Federation Party.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to contribute to the Minister's statement by the Minister, and at the outset I thank him for his deliberations. Madam Speaker, at least we have set a standard, which is fine, we accept that. And I believe that this side of the House has continuously, in the last two sittings, has made it very clear that minimum wages are a result of negotiations, and this time around I believe the Minister has explained that it took them quite a while. And whilst the negotiations were in place, the cost of living did not stay there, continued to rise. So this is not something that we should lay on our laurels and say that we have achieved this, but whilst it's a good start, we should continue to pursue minimum wages according to inflation and the cost of living that is around us. Madam Speaker, the single biggest component within the business community is small to medium term businesses. They generate a lot of employment. And these businesses, whilst they're part of these negotiations, I'll urge the Minister to, on a very practical basis, urgently convene the tripartite forum. This would be an ongoing exercise. We have had some very remarkable results of that. Probably just to complement to what you're doing. And of course, with this initiative comes the, as you rightly observed, that almost 100,000 workers will benefit from this scheme. And my advice would be that these 100,000 1,000 workers and the other workers, if their social rights can be looked at, particularly in light of what we have under the ENI and other decrees that are in place, so that only setting minimum wage is not the priority, but they also have the social status, the rights to organize, the rights to collectively bargain. These must be entrenched in these negotiations. And with this, Madam Minister, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, the micromanagement of the economy is one of the concerns which I hope that the ministry will understand, because the transaction costs of small businesses have really gone up. So in order to pay for the workers, we must look at reducing these costs or deferring them in somehow. And as I said, it is a low wage driven economy. The wages that are set is $2.32. It will equate to, on a 44-hour basis, something like $106. You take away FNPF, 15% VAT, we are left with $76. So this is the reality of the situation, and I hope the Minister in his good sense will look into it and hopefully give it a holistic approach. Thank you.
Honourable Member, thank you very much for your response.